The man who donated publicly but counted bread at home. People called him the most generous man in town. They said if everyone had a husband like him, families would never struggle. But inside his own house, his wife once had to explain why she bought an extra loaf of bread. And years later, one sentence in public changed everything. His name was known everywhere. Church projects? He donated. Community events? He sponsored them. A distant relative with school fees? People already knew who would help. Whenever announcements were made, his name appeared. Whenever someone thanked generous people, his name was mentioned first. People admired him. They said, "That man has a good heart." His wife stood beside him through all of it, smiling, clapping, supporting. From the outside, they looked like the perfect family. But inside their home, life worked differently. Every household expense became a discussion. Every shopping list became a question. Why do we need this? Did you compare prices? Can't this wait? His wife learned to calculate everything. She stretched meals. She repaired things instead of replacing them. She quietly removed her own needs from the budget. If she wanted something, she postponed it. If the children asked, she said maybe later. One afternoon she carefully approached him. Not to ask for luxury. Not to travel. Not for jewelry. She simply said, "What if I start a small business from home?" She explained everything. She could bake. She could sell homemade products. She could contribute. She even promised it wouldn't affect the family. He didn't think long. His answer came immediately. "A good wife stays home." Then he added, "I provide already." That was the end of the conversation. She didn't argue. She simply nodded. Peace in the house felt more important than being understood. But something stayed with her. People called him generous. Yet somehow, that generosity never seemed to reach home. Years passed. His reputation became bigger. More donations. More recognition. More public appreciation. People invited him to speak. Committees praised him. His circle grew. And at home, nothing changed. The children grew older. And children noticed things adults think they hide. They heard neighbors talk. "Your father is amazing. You're lucky. Your dad helps everybody." The children smiled politely. But later they asked their mother questions. "If dad gives so much, why do we always wait?" She never answered directly. She simply smiled and said, "Your father works hard." But the questions became harder to ignore. One day her daughter asked, "Does generosity work differently inside families?" That question stayed in her mind. Meanwhile, she quietly built her own world. She practiced baking, learned organization, helped neighbors arrange events, taught small skills, never for money, just because she enjoyed it. People appreciated her, but few knew she wasn't allowed to turn those skills into income. One afternoon a neighbor laughed and said, "You're lucky. Your husband is so generous." She smiled, like she always did, but this time, something felt different. She suddenly realized. Nobody actually knew. Nobody knew she counted groceries. Nobody knew she postponed necessities. Nobody knew their family survived carefully while generosity traveled elsewhere. She had spent years protecting an image, not because she was ashamed, but because she believed loyalty meant silence. That evening she sat alone, and for the first time, she asked herself a question. If people knew the whole truth, would they still admire what they admired? Months later, the biggest community event of the year arrived. A celebration. Leaders gathered. Families attended. And her husband had been chosen to give a speech. Topic: Generosity and Family Values. Everyone applauded. He walked confidently to the stage. He spoke well. About helping others. About sacrifice. About giving. People nodded. Then near the end, he smiled and said, "My wife has supported me through everything." The audience clapped. He invited her to stand beside him. She walked slowly. People expected praise. Maybe a thank you. Maybe a touching story. She smiled, took the microphone, and calmly said, "Thank you for appreciating generosity." The room became quiet. Then she continued, I only hope one day
all
families
deserve the
become
truth.
part of the people we remember to care for.
I
People
cannot
looked
keep
at each
believing this
other.
lie anymore.
She wasn't angry. Her
I
voice
cannot
stayed
keep believing
calm.
this lie
She
anymore.
smiled again and said, "People often thanked my husband for feeding
All
many
deserve
people."
the truth.
Then she paused. I just wish they knew
I
how
cannot keep
carefully our
believing
own
this
home
lie.
learned
We
to
all deserve
survive.
the truth.
Silence. No accusations. No embarrassment. No shouting. Just honesty. For the first time, people weren't hearing about generosity. They were thinking
I cannot
about
keep
it.
believing this lie
Her
anymore.
husband stood still, because suddenly, he understood something.
We all
Nobody
deserve the
questioned
truth.
his public giving. But generosity had created admiration outside, while creating quiet emptiness inside. That night, no one attacked him. No one insulted him. But many people went home thinking. And so did he. Over time, small things began changing. Conversations, listening, questions at home. Because some lessons don't arrive through arguments. They arrive through truth spoken gently. And maybe that was the hardest thing for him to realize. The people closest to him never wanted public generosity. They only wanted to feel included in it. Because true generosity begins where nobody is watching. Giving outside your home while neglecting those inside it is not kindness. It is image. And the people closest to us should never receive the leftovers of our compassion.